Greetings, this is Vane and welcome back to Let's Play The Sims Series 2. So, we are currently trying to save up some cash, get some promotions, so that we can work on the upstairs. Unlike the downstairs, you have to have floor tiles to have a floor. So that's an added expense. Whereas before we could get away with just walking on grass as we built the walls. So it can be quite expensive to think about how you're going to put on a second floor. Bear in mind that this is quite open. There's a lot of space here, and this is mainly because not just in this series, but as more stuff as it cover more content, including future expansion packs, I wouldn't mind coming back to, like, say, the challenge house and seeing them be kitted out with new objects and take on new challenges, which I'll probably do with some, if not all, the families. That exist in the neighbourhood and in the game. I mean, it really depends, because sometimes the content that they put out is brilliant and so expansive that that could take nigh on a year just to go through it all, and other times the content that they give you isn't really all that interesting, but it's still kind of important as part of the story of the franchise. So and on top of all that, there are all sorts of other concerns. Like I said, The Sims is a game that, because there is no beginning, no end, there's no true beginning, no true end to any specific game, because it's just like, well, there's a beginning. Technically there's a beginning because you start and with a new family, and it's like, okay, you start with a new family, you've got nothing. But you don't have to play that way. You can, you can sort of create a new family and get other people to come in. So it's like you're just jumping into instant middle, because what you're doing at the beginning of the game doesn't really change to what you're doing in the middle of the game. It's literally you're jumping in at the deep end. That's cool. That's how life works, especially in The Sims. So theoretically, it's what The Sims and the series of The Sims is basically something that can keep going on forever. As long as I've got a computer that can run it, The Sims can keep going if people are enjoying it. And the only reason I've not played, I played the base game to death so often, starting and restarting and restarting and restarting, because the main concern I have is other games and having space for everything else that you have to do. So I mean, The Sims doesn't take up a lot of games, but a lot of space. But when you put on the expansion packs, for example, it becomes quite big. But nowhere near as big as say The Sims 4, with the majority of the expansions and custom content and so forth and so forth. And plus, there's always newer games to cover to go, ooh, I'll have that, or distractions or stuff. I mean, it's interesting to say that I have never actually played every single expansion pack for even The Sims 1. I own them all. I just never got round to playing them all. Quite often because I'll start the main game and play the main game and okay, when I'm ready I'll add the next expansion, whatever, to experience it like in staggered amounts rather than just having the whole lot at once, and then I often get distracted and lose track of where I'm doing, and it never quite happens because there are a number of expansions even for the first Sims. The original Sims, I mean, as a franchise, The Sims probably holds the record for the most expansion packs. And back at the time when the idea was you'd have a game with maybe one, maybe two expansions, The Sims holds the record for having the most expansions for a game. It's not so novel now in a world of DLC, but back when you had to create the assets, put it onto a disc, get all the marketing for the disc, the amount of content and stuff that they actually produced is just staggering. And there is literally no other way of saying it. So if you compare this in contrast to, say, I mean, the Baldur's Gate is an obvious one. There's a beginning, there's an end. You play through the story once, maybe twice if you change a few variables, or there's a different versions and you want to see the difference, or you just feel like doing or replaying the game again. But it's generally, there's a playthrough once to the other, and then you can like kind of take it off or put it back on the shelf or do whatever with it. And then you've got games like Civ 6 and Stellaris, which I've done a number of series of, which are, the game itself has a beginning and an end because you have scenarios, but in terms of actually playing it, it's very rare that there's a campaign mode that isn't little more than just stories and scenarios. I mean, even games like Heroes of Might and Magic, for example, you have the single player campaign, which is essentially a number of maps, but the actual plot side and everything is more a case of it's more a case of the longevity comes from playing the maps and the scenarios and the roguelike bits and what. And you might, if you play that several times, it's going to be with different setups and try and explore new things. But there's a definite beginning and a definite end to what could be considered a series. I mean, for example, with The Sims. With Civ 6, for example, I did a number of series where I started increasing the map size and changing the game speed, so you get some idea of the sort of pacing, as well as other players and stuff like that. So the maps themselves are quite different, and the games themselves are quite different. I think it can be interesting to try out different modes and stuff like that. I mean, chances are, if I go up to a third game in each series, it will probably be something like The Sims. Okay, let's have a look. You're going to work. You're not work because you're night shift. You're afternoon shift. You go to work. You're already going to work. You're already going to work. So it's literally just you. Gregarious. Oh yes, you're on a night shift because you're a bag man at the moment, aren't you? Jovial, on the other hand. Yes, would you like to get in? As with everything else, just let me know what sort of content you want and you'd enjoy watching, and I'll most definitely consider it. I mean, it would be quite nice maybe to get back into carrying on with doing some Civ 6 if people wanted to watch it. But I don't really want to overcommit, depending on how I'm going. I mean, I'd like to do one main. I think what I'd like to do is one main game, which are often a role-playing game or something, where one series of The Sims, which is relatively quick and easy to do, that I can probably live stream and stuff like that, and maybe one series of some strategy games that have kind of more discrete matches and stuff like that to test out, rather than. But that is longer off, and then there'll be like, will I be live streaming stuff like that? I mean, I might swap out The Sims for, say, other simulation games, maybe like City Skylines or something like that, depending on how I feel. But it really depends what mood I'm in. I mean, at the moment I'm finding that it's quite good doing the content I'm doing, and I'm quite enjoying the idea of gaming and the idea that it's being watched, and people are enjoying me game is giving me the added oomph to finish games that I've never really had before. In fact, it kind of feels a bit like gaming without actually recording. It's a bit of a waste. You know, and which is probably a good sign that I was kind of destined to be a Let's Player, even if I'm very light on commentary. And I don't do much editing on my videos because, as far as I'm concerned, part of the game is often the grinding, if it's that type of game, and you know, it can be nice to see how the grinding goes, because that's when you get the sort of emergent gameplay aspects. One thing I'm not so certain of, though, I mean, I'd like to do games like Might and Magic, for example. That's the role-playing game rather than the Heroes of Might and Magic, the strategy game. But the basis of that involves a lot of mapping, and I'm not entirely sure how I would go about doing, say, the mapping. Now, I could get maps from sources online, but you know, it takes having maps and guides kind of takes the mystery out of the game. And since a lot of the games, a lot of the early games were based on the exploration aspect and the mystery of solving the dungeons and whatnot, I think you are going... Of course you can't. Because you haven't finished work yet. Okay. You might as well eat then. Might as well do something with your time. And you can have a bath instead. But yeah. So how I would go about doing that, I don't know, because I'm pretty sure that the meticulous mapping through pencil and paper, which is how you were supposed to do it, probably won't translate very well to play in the game. Because obviously if I'm translating the maps, unless I scan the maps, you're not going to see them. And it will often be kind of long pauses as I draw maps, basically. But I'll see how I would tackle that if I tackle that kind of obstacle. I mean, of course, if I do draw maps online, I can always then scan them and put them up somewhere. I've got my own web space. I can do that. So even if obviously once they're on the computer, I could then like show my maps at the end of a video perhaps, or do a video just showing off the maps in the game and stuff like that. You know, pretty much whatever I feel like doing when I think about it. Hey Rhiannon, how are you? Okay. You're a drill instructor and you need... How are you feeling? Okay. You need to practice your speech. Thank you, Rhiannon. Someone will be over today. And thank you for listening to me waffle, I guess. Because that's what it is. It's a load of waffle, but... These are the sort of things that absolutely fascinate me. And I hope they fascinate you too. You're being promoted to bit player. You're able to support yourself in your chosen career. Barely. You've actually got a few lines to speak. Ironically, they often seem to be, "May I take your orders, sir?" Building relationships and your body is important now. 9 till 3. Okay, so we got you, and you need to work on body. And we need to start having friends. So it's time to see who we might invite over. Bob Newby? Let's call some Bob. Bob Newby might. People might like Bob Newby. So yeah, you're still you. And... you're still you. Okay. Okay, we've got bills coming in. Okay, fastidious. How did you get on? Haven't really done anything, but yeah. Yay, bulb! I thought you'd never ask. I'll be over in a minute. I mean, even if you fall asleep, hopefully others will talk to, invite Bob in and talk to Bob, and at least one of you will be able to sort him out as a family friend. And if you don't, well, there's always another day. And look at those wildflowers. Look how they've sprung up. Or you could have a go at Bob and moan because you're in a bad mood, but hey. Did you just vanish the plates? Oh, nice. I hope you just vanished them. Wouldn't want them to glitch out now. Gregarious. Your psychic advisor suggests that you plan your meetings very carefully this month because you may have some unexpected news. Okay, when you come in, I want you to feed the fish. You can feed the fish when you get in. When you get in, you are gonna pay the bills. I mean, I reckon it's going to take about £4 to do the first room up to the top. I think because of the way I am, I'm not necessarily very creative with houses. That's not. I can be creative with houses, it's just that's not really why I play The Sims. I'm not much of an architect. But then, in all honesty, I did describe basically when I moved into my flat that it was just like having a bigger bedroom. You know, there's just no difference. And even when I was with Sean, it was like living in a bigger space with a flatmate or partner or whatever. I mean, the day to day didn't really change, other than there was also someone there you're sharing your space with. The space itself didn't really matter to me. I can be just as happy given a small corner room with my computer as I am with a mansion with 6 wings on the side and 4 floors and God knows what. And unfortunately, that's also how I tend to see my Sims. But what are you going to do? Anyway, we're going to save it there. This has been Vane doing Let's Play The Sims Series 2. If you like what you see in here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. And until next time, goodbye.